everyone, it's Teresa and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be me updating you all about my writing. Because it's been like 2 months. I really didn't even close out the year, did I? I was trying to film both, I believe, November and December's writing diary vlog thing. I don't know what to call this. And somehow I had been feeling like I was saying the same things every month over and over again, and I just got really tired of it. So I was like, you know what, I'm not going to update until I have something more concrete to say, and you know, an actual update. So I kind of went with like that writing, that creative writing video that I did, and I'll be doing more interim videos that'll be spaced in between here and there depending on the month. But let's just kind of get into the video, because while I don't have a ton to say, probably not like how my videos have been, where it's been like 30 minutes long, it's been like 2 months, so I do have a couple of things that I would like to update you guys on. Starting with the fact that Beanie Therese is back. But that's because somehow my hair is just not cooperating very well. So let's start off with the easy bits. So you know how much in my Q&A, if you guys had seen that one, I had introduced some of the face claims for my my characters, and that one of the characters' face claims has ultimately changed, because while I do like Marina Moschin for my main character, it just wasn't working out. I don't know, I just had always imagined the main girl to have fairly darker, like tan skin. So I ended up changing that out, and after much deliberation with my friend, who, Ethel, you were going to get a lot of praise in this video because there's a lot of things that you have helped me overcome, and will continue to help me overcome, and you have helped me plan the majority of like the series and like the world building, because half of this stuff is yours. So thank you, Ethel. Let's just all give a round of applause for my sanity to Ethel. I'm sure I have taken more than enough of her sanity away. But I decided to change it from Marina Moschin to Emerald Tobia. I feel like in terms of like the big doe eyes, the kind of shorter stature, and like the curves, because I had imagined this character to be fairly curvy and like muscular, the Emerald works better. And until that changes in the future, hopefully my idea and my vision of this character does not change in the future, because she has been a bitch and a half to find someone I would fan cast for and like base their looks off of. Emerald is my gal. In terms of everything else, it's kind of been the same song and dance that you guys have heard of. There has been a lot of Game of Thronesing in terms of like the world building. If you guys have never read the Game of Thrones books, the world building is pretty phenomenal. George R. R. Martin adds a lot of history and detail to things that don't even add to the main storyline, but add to the entire world itself. I don't know how that is for the TV show, because I have only seen a few bits of the TV show, and given how season 8 ended, I don't know that I'd want to continue. Other than that, that's kind of where Ethel and I have been going in terms of world building. We've been planning out a lot of like the religions and how that came to be, and then also she's been helping me figure out the remaining bits of the subsequent books. Originally this was supposed to be a trilogy, and then because of planning and like how things ended in the supposed 3rd book, it left a lot of things open. So I had gone to the executive decision of opening it up to a 4th book. So it's now going to be a quartet, and she has been helping me figure out like the bits of why this 4th book would come about, and like how I can, well actually, while she's helping me figure it out and keeping me calm, I have been able to start foreshadowing the 4th book stuff into the 1st book, and then kind of work my way through the rest of the books, which has been really nice. As well as like kind of the world building, it really it's starting to feel like the most tangible world out there. Like there are certain instances where I have to be like, I'm sorry, I'm gonna flux capacitor this shit, like we don't need an explanation for this. But in terms of like the world and how it came to be, and how these like different species of dragons and humans and horses and all that stuff, and dwarves and fae-like beings came to be, and like their development and such kind of has started to come together because of it. I'm seeing a lot more connections between everything, and it's just very fluid. It's flowing very nicely, which has been honestly such a lifesaver for me, and has made kind of this redrafting process feel like I know what I've been doing this entire time. But also I'm low-key panicking, because like if I ever plan a book without Ethel, which will probably happen, I don't know how I'm gonna do that on my own. Like I'm sure I can do it on my own just fine. Like I've planned thus far like several worlds and like several stories without her. But in terms of like this one, since this is such a large scale planning and takes a lot of like effort and mind, like we were Skyping the other day for like 6 hours figuring this out. So I don't know how I'm going to plan things anymore without her, so writing career down the drain really fast. A lot of that, it's a lot of world building thus far. I have realized that I need to figure things out, but in terms of like some of the other like side but also bigger kingdoms that come into play in the second book that we start to see in there, I have started to figure out like certain things, because I have a Fae kind of variation in there because I love me some Fae. I have some frozen people variation in there. I have some water people variation in there. So I've been figuring out like their weaknesses and like how they came about and their physiology and like all this weird scientific stuff that no one told me I would ever have to do as a writer. So thank you to everyone who let me go throughout like biology and math with like B's and C's. Y'all were not the real homies, because I feel like I'm setting myself up for failure here. Aside from that, I have been low-key panicking. I'm officially like halfway through the third draft. I finished up the point where I was going to be halfway yesterday. And I feel like at this point in time, I'm free to panic. So I'm going to panic on screen really quickly. I don't know why, but when I do third drafts, or like this draft in particular, both drafts really, I've been getting into this really bad habit of just transferring everything verbatim minus like any spelling errors or adjusting things that I said I would adjust, but I haven't been adjusting like the writing style that I said I was going to, and for the most part I have caught myself, thank God. I have caught myself and I have gone through and like fixed those bits where I have like noticed that it was lacking or could use a little bit more. It's not a total disaster, but I'm starting to get really frustrated because I don't know. I genuinely do not know how to redraft a novel and not just write everything down verbatim. Like I don't. And I just have a lot of like thoughts and ideas for this novel that would like work with like this certain writing style and make it a little bit more flowery and like all this stuff and this wording and like dialogue bits. But somehow when I go to write it from the second draft into the third draft, I just go into this slump of like writing things verbatim, and I don't know how to necessarily adjust and make sure that doesn't happen. I don't know if I have to like mark everything in the second draft literally in red, so I sit there and start adding more descriptions and adding more thoughts and make it so everything's different, or if it's just because I have been primarily reading a lot of YA recently, and my second draft is written in a very YA kind of format, and I want to stray away from that because this book and subsequent books are a lot darker and a lot more gory than I would ever want my child to read if it was a YA novel. So I don't know if I just have to like start rushing myself out of the YA kind of descriptions where it's like, it's not bad, but it's not how I would like to write as an author. I don't know. I think somewhere along the line of doing creative writing classes, and like I had mentioned this in my creative writing video where I had started to write for people instead of for myself, in terms of like shortening everything and making things like very like easy to like and quick to read. I lost kind of that bit of like how I used to really love to write, which is a little bit closer to probably like Cassie Clare, which is still YA, but I think she falls a little bit toward the older YA in terms of like her descriptions and the things that are currently happening within the book, and then probably a little bit of Song of Achilles and like The Night Circus. And I don't know why I'm gesturing behind me because you probably can't even see the books that I'm pointing to, but I talk with my hands and it makes me feel better. So when I'm panicking, this is what happens. Or like even Sarah J. Maas, who has started from like very YA with Throne of Glass and has kind of ended up a little more towards like new adult to adult by the time I have read Empire Storms. That's kind of where I wanted to go with my writing. But I don't know if, like I said, I feel like it's just because I have been reading primarily a lot of YA. It's like eating, you are what you read. So since I have been reading a lot of YA, I'm not surprised that it is transferring into my writing. So it's been kind of a struggle, and I've been trying to find ways to work around it and just like reminding myself that I should be adding more in this draft and like taking out certain scenes and then adding more still. But I don't know, sometimes I think I'm going to read through because I am re-editing like the first like I think 13 chapters of this novel, of my draft, just so it fits a little bit more in line with the writing style, or my goal for the writing style of this draft, but I don't know if I'm actually reaching it. So if you guys have any suggestions on like maybe you're drafting your novel and you're on like the third or fourth draft and you have any suggestions as to how to like not transition out of young adult to adult, because I don't know anyone who particularly would have advice for that aside from like it's just how the prose is, but in terms of like editing from one draft to another and not just basically copy pasting everything, I would really appreciate that, because right now Your girl is panicking, just a smidgen. I am getting really anxious because, like I said a couple months ago, I was planning on joining Pitch Wars in 2020. And even if I didn't win Pitch Wars or even get picked up by an agent, I'd still be on the right track because I would be querying this year anyway. But Pitch Wars hasn't posted their 2020 schedule yet. The closest I have to 2020 is knowing when things go live in February, but from what I have seen thus far of their schedule patterns, it goes, their deadlines are either all in September or in August, and it switches off every year. And I had planned mine according to September because just by judging how far apart the months are from like one pitch war to another, I figured that September would be my best bet because they are planning things and like getting things together, and that might take time. I don't like not knowing when due dates are. It makes me panic. And like I said, I have everything set for September and I should be done with the novel in June, I believe. But still, if it's all due in August, I will end up having to rush my friends to read through the novel and like give me as much advice as possible, and I can rush edit it, which I don't want to do. And I think if that's the case for August, I'll probably have to say no to Pitch Wars this year and just go about like doing PitMad in the future and querying throughout the rest of the year, which is fine because I'm still technically on track, but like not knowing the due dates makes me very nervous because I, have worked very hard to reach this imaginary due date, and I still haven't heard about when things are due. Yeah, but if you guys have any idea when Pitch Wars typically announces their due dates, I'd really appreciate it because that would save me a lot of time. And I could probably take my time too at that point to be re-editing and everything. And yeah, that's basically it. Let's see what other I cover. New face claim. I'll throw Emerod's face up there when I do that. Panicking over writing, which is fair. This is a very normal thing for me to do. Panicking over future writing. World building coming together. Panicking over Pitch Wars. Sounds about right. Like I said, if you guys have any suggestions for like those drafty things that kind of really are starting to piss me off, I'd really appreciate it because I'm kind of at a loss here. I think it's just because also I sometimes will wait until like Sunday to do my drafting, and I shouldn't do that because I need time to like go through and edit things, and then I'm rushing, which is probably why I've been like adding things verbatim. But I would still really like the assistance and the welcome advice. I'm very lost and I feel like I could watch a YouTube video, but I'm very scared of watching those things because sometimes they say things and I'm sitting here like, you're not wrong that I should do that, but if I start doing that and it doesn't work for me, but you said it and there's a lot of views and a lot of likes on your video, I'm going to feel compelled to keep doing it even though it doesn't work because my brain is weird and it's just, I don't know. It's been a time, but aside from that, like aside from all the panicking and all the stress, and I'm sure I have probably given y'all secondhand anxiety as well, really sorry about that. I am actually really enjoying drafting everything. I don't know. Maybe it's because, like I said, my friend and I have worked a lot on this concept, a lot of hard work and effort has been put into just figuring out major plot points, figuring out character development and like world building. I literally lost like 5 minutes worth of footage. That's okay. So as I was saying, that like I said, having everything come together in a book and like having it so I can foreshadow everything is just very satisfying, and I'm very happy with how everything's going. And like literally if I ever get this book published and it ever becomes a bestseller, if we get a Netflix deal, literally, if I could, I'd put everyone's names on that cover because there have been so many people that have helped me at like 2 a.m. at random bits in the day, just helping me get back on track and keeping me from really just falling apart and panicking over things that are not necessary, that don't really mean much to the book, but still have helped me kind of work my way through it. And I owed these people so much. So like literally will never get enough thanks out of me. And if somehow this book becomes a big bestseller, gets a Netflix deal, and like is like comparable to like maybe like the success of like Witcher or Game of Thrones, yes, I'm aiming very high, but you know what? As a brown woman, we'll aim for the stars until I get there. There's just a lot. So yeah, I think by the time I'm done with the third draft in May, oh, that's coming up soon. In May, I'll be a very emotional wreck. That is basically it for my video. Like I said, I want to do these monthly, but I feel like I'll be just repeating the same things every month unless something big actually happens. So if you guys have any suggestions for other writing themed videos, it can be like my writing process, what I do, how I drafted out this first book the first time. And then everything else, like how I'm working on like foreshadowing and outlining the second book and the third book and the fourth book without having ever written a single word. I'm down for it if you guys want more advice videos. I have one coming up in the next couple weeks. I just gotta plan that out. So you'll probably see it like next week or something, or the last week of, not the last full week, not like next week, but the week after. But until then, hit like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in the comments. And I hope you guys are having a wonderful week, and I'll see you in my next video, which may or may not be a vlog that I am doing for this read-along thing that I'm doing with my book Twitter friends. So I hope you guys have a great week. Bye!